because the mortgage is only the collateral to validate that contract or to enforce that contract. So the so-called property, the so-called house is being mortgaged, is being collateraled for them to give you, let's say, $100,000. So they say, oh, we're giving you $100,000. Here's the promissory note to pay it back, and I'm going to collect, and here's the collateral in case you don't. But what didn't they produce at the signing to validate or to enforce that contract?
Nothing else substantial.
The gold and silver coin.
Right.
How we get by that? How we get by that is the better question. We're going to talk about how they got by a lot of that stuff and how it's void ab initio because they used currency which wasn't backed by gold coins and things of that nature. Because they did not give you substantive offer. They did not give you. They gave you. It was imaginary because it wasn't produced.
Right.
It wasn't actual and it wasn't real.
No.
Right.
So it didn't meet. Mutual acceptance. Substantive offer. And mutual acceptance.
Right.
You sat here and thought that you were getting something, but it never was given. How you mutually accept something that you never received?
Okay.
But that happens in relationships all the time.
Well, we were talking about mortgages.
I know, I'm messing with you.
It happens all the time, and that's why you be seeing people on Jerry Springer. That's why you see people on in POW camps because they fought because of the breach of the contract.
Okay.
Regardless of if it was verbal or written, it was made. And even if you can't validate it with any third party, the divine heard that damn contract. Can't hide anything. It's all disclosed. Islam. So B. So we got that part done. A contract must be producible. Oh God, this is the one. What? A contract must be producible and exist in evidence upon demand made by either party to the contract, which in itself may be in question, dispute, or controversy. Now we're going to talk about tribunals. Because tribunals want to hold you to a contract, but they never produce it. And if you was a party to the contract, you would have a copy of it too. So both parties would have an original of that contract validating whatever we're talking about. So now we talk about tribunals, right? And they say, well, I'm going to always use myself. Sharon Tracey Gale Bey. They're not going to call you that. They're going to call you under the nom de guerre because that's the so-called unlawful contract that they're trying to force upon you. And if you step into jurisdiction through the trap set, you will give that. What are the three ways they trap Moors, whether declared or undeclared, into jurisdiction? Who knows that answer?
Personam jurisdiction name.
Huh?
Personam jurisdiction name.
Huh?
They ask you where you live.
Birth certificate? That's one.
Address.
That's two.
Not your birth certificate?
The oath.
Your name.
No.
Social Security.
What is your name?
What is your name is one. What's the second one? Let's do it in order, y'all, because y'all all know.
Date of birth.
Date of birth. What's the third? Address and residence. So address and residence kind of coincide. So the first thing they're going to ask you is, what is your name for the record? I am Sharon Gale. What is your, when were you born? 12/12/12.
Also, are you a citizen?
Sometimes they ask that.
Sometimes they ask that.
They don't always.
Right.
They get it deceptively through acting as if they're not asking jurisdiction or questions.
Right.
They're asking because, one, you're supposed to know who you are.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's start there. Mommy. Fix the sin mommy put you in. They'll always say that. So we got to know who we are. And that's where status and status talks. In previous classes, we talked about status. Do anybody remember what the definition of status is? It is your what? Don't go back to the Black's Law. It's what?
Yeah, your social
Standing.
state of condition, social condition, the legal.
You're close.
Legal.
Don't get the actual, you ain't got to do it verbatim.
Right.
Know it by knowing what that definition means to you.
To you, yep.
It's your status and standing in society and classification. Right? So, if you don't know your status and standing in society, you're what? Remember the picture?
A corporate property.
Your corporate property, but there we go. Salvageable cargo. And anybody is going to board your ship, or whatever ship you board. If you don't know where you come from and you don't give them a frame of reference of how to deal with you, they're going to salvage you. And they have trickery words to do that. And that is, what is your name for the record? Do you live at 36 North Harwood Avenue? No, because that's a corporate address. That doesn't even exist.
So where do you live?
You live in here. That's the traps. When were you born? When were you born? When were you born?
I wasn't.
Wait a minute. When were you born?
I was made. I wasn't born.
What date was you made?
I always was.
Trick question.
The great I am.
Do you know? Can you validate it, substantiate it, or is it hearsay? Because it's on a document, right?
Right.
And who would substantiate that?
What about me?
But does she remember?
But what about myself substantiating
How?
when I had my daughter?
You can do that. But you would do that through what type of document? Record of live birth. And who would produce that?
Me?
Why?
Because I gave birth.
Thank you. And if you said anybody else did that, what you just do?
I gave her away a salvageable cargo.
Right. You manifested her free, and you just put an ass in slavery. And based on what it says on the document is who you slaved her to. But that document will never be producible. Why? Why will they never produce that document for the record? Ever.
Fraud.
But why specifically?
And if it can't sign a contract.
I'll be specific.
Yeah.
Because that shit's all over the place.
Right.
It's being sold behind the scenes in the stock
In the stock
market.
But you got to get that link from that to the stock market, which you haven't done for me. But I'm sure you're not doing it right now. But.
No, because the reality is for them to produce that, first of all, they ain't never going to do that. They're going to acquiesce in unrebutted affidavit stands as what? And what have they been doing this whole time? They've been hypothecating, but who has not been rebutting? Why?
Because we don't know. We don't know.
Because we had to fix the sin our mother put us in.
Thank you! And mom trying to sit back while she's eating her croquettes and watching Jerry Springer, acting like she ain't did nothing. Mom, do you see what this document says? Because we read what a certificate was in class, and I did another class on it to get it drilled in your brain what it is. Your mom claimed you as property of somebody else and threw your ass out there to work for a living in that fraudulent system. And those people who don't adhere to the tributes through taxes and gifts and donuses, where they put them?
Jail.
Which are what?
POW.
So what does POW mean?
Prisoners of war.
And who's warring against who?
We're war against each other.
And we're warring against ourselves, right? Because we like, we don't even know who we are.
That's the only war.
That's the only war.
Really?
Yeah.
Y'all getting it. I'm loving it. It's like ping, 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 ping. Do we have anybody here who needs to do nationality documents? You look new. You gotta hook him up. Islam move. Islam. So we got through big.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So for my daughter, she's the only one that I never did a birth certificate. I didn't fill
Oh, she was born free. Did you do Social
I
Security?
did do a Social Security card, but I did get rid of it in 2007.
How?
I mailed it back to Maryland.
And what status was you in before you did it?
I did claim the UCC for myself before I did it.
Now, what's the UCC for yourself before you did it? What was the first thing you got to establish in society in order to be recognized anywhere? Status, right? So, did you do anything really?
I guess not, but I redid everything according to how you guys.
How we do it as a nation.
Yes.
So you've already done that nationality.
Yeah, well.
You just did that today. When'd you
yeah,
do this?
No, I did the UCC form. I did.
UCC one actual document from the Universal Commercial
Yeah, I
Code?
did it according to how you guys do it, but
And
I did it.
you did it on their form?
No, I
Affidavit.
did a written one for myself.
The affidavit of UCC one?
Yeah,
But you did it before you did status correction?
I did that in 2017, just what I thought I should do, but then I redid it again this
So
year.
okay, what was in your original documents and what did it say? Where'd you get it?
I claimed my birth certificate, information, you know, like the.
Because you claim your Moorish nationality is the point
No,
I'm getting.
not
Well, then you didn't
that.
claim nothing.
No, that's why I did it
Right.
now. So
You gotta redo all that.
yeah, I redid it. So now.
How you redo it and you were just filling out nationality paperwork today?
Because she did it ahead of time, in other words.
That's the point I'm trying to get her to realize.
Yeah,
It's not valid.
Backwards.
yeah.
Status has to be established before you can do any fixing.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the issue starts with status. That's where we went wrong. That's the first start. But keep in mind, we're going over contract law. And before law came into play, they could do anything they wanted because you didn't have law to defend yourself. And because you don't have law to defend yourself, you stuck on Christian black codes all day. That looks like UCC titles and all that, and ordinances and regulations. And what's the other one? It's another one I can't think of. Codes, right? I like, so if you did any of that before you declared and proclaimed your status, you did nothing.
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
Okay.
And they know that. That's why they didn't fight you. They're like, she ain't do nothing.
Declaring for clean.
Because they'll sit here and let you do pull in all the paperwork because it's all about the finance that you spent anyway.
Paper.
And they ain't not gonna come and get you until they're ready.
Yep.
They'll sit here and let you live in peace and harmony, acting like you're doing something. And then when China or Russia buys that contract, because it's up for market now,
Yes.
which is the U.S. citizenry.
Yes.
That's all the individuals that think they came here with passports, that think they came here from Nigeria, Liberia, and any of those others through those so-called Ghana, any of those contracts from the United States. ICE agents will come and get you if you don't clear that matter up, because that's a contract, and you're outside of nationality. Salvageable by the highest bidder that buys the contract, based on UCC 1 that we filed as a government.
I put the same name on that UCC one.
What appellation did you put? Because corporations have names.
Okay, this is the same exact one that I have on this document is what I sent to Washington.
But was it in proper English? Was it in all caps?
No.
It was in proper. You did it on our forms.
Yeah, on your forms. I followed exactly how you.
The only you just got to redo it because you didn't establish your status. So I would do that first.
Okay.
Do all the tier 1 first, and then redo it. Title and ability. Yep.
L.
Because we gotta realize what makes our liens enforceable. Why they scared? They running and their bones is bleeding. Why? Why is that? Why can we do that? Because who else can do that? Can anybody else do that?
No.
Why?
Agreements with the Moors, that's why.
Why? Why can we do liens and nobody else can do liens? Why? And a lien is what? A lien says you violated a law and you owe me a debt. What's the law they violated?
Law of land.
Which is?
Treaty,
And
which is our security also.
treaty and what?
Constitution.
And what is the Constitution for the United States of America?
For them to operate commerce within the confines.
Huh?
For them to operate their commerce within those confines.
Thank you. Yes. That's what the Constitution is. It's a contract.
Contract.
Yeah.
And because they breach a contract, you can lien them for breaching that.
Yes.
And why can you lien them for breaching that contract? Because you're the sovereigns who ancestors established it.
Established.
Get why you can do it and get why they can't do anything about it unless you do something about it. Only you can terminate the lien.
But my question is, who's enforcing it? Nobody's enforcing it.
Oh hell yeah, they are.
Who?
Oh hell yeah.
Who's enforcing it?
Who's enforcing it, y'all? Everybody say that once.
We're enforcing it.
But who's who's administering it?
That's what I'm asking.
Who?
Horse National
And that safe harbor.
Who works for us, y'all?
The European colonists.
And who am I specifically talking about?
United States Department of Treasury.
United States Service Corporation.
Trump!
President.
And everybody else under him.
Yes. Yes.
And is he sitting here, they sitting here talking, they mad at the Albions, are mad at him because he's doing what we tell him to do. But if you if you're domiciling in a world where everybody thinks people are crayons and the United States Service Corporation actually exists as a government and everybody willfully going to the county and they're supposed to be going to their own consulate for all the activity that's going on in there and none of those individuals within those compounds give a damn about anything you're talking about as long as you pay the fiat. And why do you think that they're so mad the fiat is gone? Because what did the fiat do for them? But what did it do for them? No, it gave them a standing. And us taking it away did what?
They don't have a standing.
Woo! What? And what else did it do? They mad as shit.
They go back where they came from.
What?
It's subjected to the laws.
Say it. Say
Say
it.
that ass.
Say it. What does that mean?
It's
What does
subjected
that
to the
mean?
laws.
Just say it. Don't say that.
Woo,
Just say it. I'm not mad. Just say it. I'm not mad.
I want you to come to realization because it don't mean shit if I say it.
Listen, no, jargon. I don't like jargon. Just
I ain't
say it.
speaking jargon, nope.
Just say it.
Nope.
Say it.
Nope.
She's saying it.
She's not saying it.
She's saying it.
She's not saying it.
She looked like that.
I'm hot. I'm about to take my headband off. I'm so hot right now. Let me tell you.
Go you to the
Where did I go? She just took me off focus. Somebody like some more sage.
Oh, get out of here. That thing's been one out. I know.
This is fun.
And I'm messing with you too, but I want you to say it.
Now.
Because people on there are going to be like, what's she talking about?
Yeah,
Right
they
till
know.
the bones bleed. Everybody don't know.
I ain't gonna tell the bones bleed.
Everyone doesn't
God go to video 1.
Twin.
And go through.
We're
Everybody
downloading the
don't know.
video from 2 weeks ago. So she
I'm not
mentioned
downloading
it in
it
that
with you.
video.
Alright, well. That's your business. Alright, so where was we? We were talking about what? Because I was flowing and then I got cut.
You gotta get informed. They're doing what we tell them to do.
Right.
Right, they're angry.
And all the ambiance is mad because
Albion's upset.
they know damn well they ain't got nowhere to go. Even though they're going to the islands. And what the island people doing? What is they doing?
Kicking them off.
Woo,
Telling
what
them
else are they
goodbye.
doing?
Taking all their
Woo.
land back.
Woo, they coming home. Remember the three bears? Remember the three bears when I was chilling? And they came home and What was her?
Goldilocks.
Was it everybody pouring, sleeping in everybody's bed?
Right.
Chilling in their house, squatting like a bug. Trying to tell y'all in your own nursery rhyme what the heck going on.
Right.
They came home, she was chilling. They even made another movie about it. I mean, another TV show the children watch where this little Albion chick is just running around in the wilderness and the bears is taking care of her. No mom, no dad. And where'd she come from? My point I'm trying to say is that we left the house, they came and hypothecated. Now we are coming back home to reclaim what is ours. And they ain't got no standing in status outside of that fake fiat system because that was the hypothecation of us.
Right.
Because they are property, indentured servants, which is a pretty name to say for a slave, and they ain't supposed to have gold and silver. So they had to fix that problem they had. They had no standing. What they're doing outside, if you haven't noticed, they're repaving the roads, they're fixing up the buildings. That's what the fuck they're here to do. They doing a JOB. They supposed to have JOBs. Y'all supposed to be chilling. Why the hell y'all ain't? Why the hell we ain't? I know I'm chilling. I'm lifting fallen humanity.
We were miseducated.
Completely.
No, actually,
We dealing with the sin mommy put us listen. We gonna keep saying mommy, so cause mommy, you gonna fix it.
Actually, there
Is
was
that straight? Is that crooked?
Sharon, actually, there was a lot of terrorism going on, like Black Country, for example. That was going on, so it drove a lot of us to go in and try to get jobs.
But at the same time, what did they use to hypothecate and make a scene that was a big thing? Because if y'all haven't really watched and really paid attention and analyzed, how many lynching videos, pictures they got? 1 or 2? Are y'all paying attention?
What are you talking about?
What about the brother who got all 1,000 lashes on his back? That's only one brother.
Yeah.
Have y'all noticed that they ain't really got a lot? That ain't happening.
No.
That might have happened in one damn place, in one damn building.
Right.
And all the people got murdered right after it.
Right.
Because it was a sin against the law for an Albion to kill a damn so-called African slave. We were very priceless. There's a reason for that. They killed them just for breathing. We call ourselves wives and husbands, and that's a derogatory, damn connotated fucking little. I'm sitting here cursing up a storm. Who's bringing this energy in here?
You say.
Look, where's my sage at?
Own that one.
How are you doing? I don't know where it went. Somebody took my lighter? Really? What you say?
I don't like it. What are you getting on my hair?
It be getting in your hair.
There you go. There we go.
Thank you.
Hell of a day too. Yellow.
Oh, is it color today?
Yes. Yellow.
I don't got no yellow on, do I?
No.
Oh, you got some.
I'm gonna find some yellow. I got a yellow lighter right now, so I got some yellow. So what was we talking about before I got the lighter?
They supposed to have jobs and we supposed to be selling.
Exactly. That created the whole Delaware County or county of whatever corporate state and hypothecated the jack out of y'all and us. We sit there going there for all types of stuff. All types of stuff. Can you keep giving me stuff? Come on, Manab. He gonna have me reading for days.
Look at the cup.
Pennsylvania, birthplace of bank. What building is that? Is that the I tell you, when you get after a certain age, you gotta really do this. You really gotta do this. I can't even see that. Can you see that?
What's the name of the title?
The name of that building on a piece of paper. So we got B. I don't know where we left off, but we at B. A contract must be producible. So when you go into these tribunals, the first thing they want to do is establish jurisdiction because they know damn well they got to get you to agree to the fraud. They got to get you to agree to be lost at sea. And it was mommy's responsibility to let you know who you are and to teach you those things. But the only reason she's ignorant because the Moorish Science Temple was supposed to be establishing and telling the people who they are to get them out of those dead statuses back in the 1865, 7 back then. They was been supposed to start that. Moors. So are they sheiks and grand sheiks? Answer that.
No.
Can we call them that?
No.
What would they have to actually be doing to get that title?
Nationality.
And what else?
Establishing school.
What does the bylaws of the Constitution and bylaws say? Act 1 and 2, I think it is. Anybody got that up? Thank you, Mama. Supposed to be doing some stuff. They in complete breach. So when they establish the contract, when they don't produce it for the record, and you sit here and challenge jurisdiction, why they still calling you in multiple times into these tribunals, acting as if they're progressing towards adjudication or even subject matter, when they haven't established for the record jurisdiction? Because when you challenge it or when you ask for what are they supposed to do when you say I challenge the jurisdiction and delegation authority? Because the reality is before they start talking, they're supposed to be talking about that. And they don't start there. They start with adjudication and jurisdictional questions that are trickery for you to step into it. And the reality is it shouldn't even be an easy thing for that to happen and to be established. Because when you go in there, they say your name, where you live, your birth date, because they know they can only mess with you as a contract. As a corporate board, which is a corpse, because corporations don't exist. They can't be injured. Why can't corporations be injured?
They did.
And why they did?
They can't make contracts.
And why can't they make contracts? Where do they exist?
On paper.
And can a piece of paper be injured?
No.
Why?
It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't live.
Because it ain't a natural living thing. What's a corpus delicti?
Body of evidence.
Hmm?
Body of evidence.
Which means who can be a
Living soul.
what? Corpus delicti?
Corpus delicti.
Y'all forgot?
Corpus is dead, right?
Well, corpus is this.
It's like a corpse.
Yeah. Injured party. It's an injured party. In order for a crime to have been committed where a claim can be even submitted through an affidavit of fact to what happened.
Somebody had to be dead. I'm sorry. You gotta find a body.
Someone had to be injured, and they talk about this all the time in the movies. They be sitting here like, and when they can't find a body, what they be telling it to you in your freaking face. When they can't find a body, how can they establish an injury? Law.
That's why I said that.
That's why they burn it.
Yep.
Use chemicals on it.
Get rid of fingerprints in the head.
They do all that stuff, so you can't identify. And if you can't identify, you can't adjudicate. You can't. If there's no injured party, who can be the claimant? When I went into the POW camp for 25 days, I talked to a multitude of Asiatic women and Albion women, and there was never an injured party.
Never.
No, not written on. And guess who was filing the damn claim, y'all? Guess who's filing them?
The state.
No. The bandit, the outlaw, and the terrorist. Who's that?
The police.
The policy enforcers. How the heck is the policy enforcer? Okay.
Actually, legislative policy enforcers.
What?
Legislative policy
That's why I said the
enforcers.
state.
No, it's legislative policy enforcers. That's the actual terminology.
Elaborate.
Well, it's the legislation that's falsely created by the Congress.
Oh, okay.
So it's legislative policy enforcers because what happens is that
No. You're wrong.
You signed the contract saying
wrong.
yes, you signed a contract agreeing to the motor vehicle laws. That's legislative policy.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
Who signed the
Wait a minute.
contract?
He just went back to our topic of discussion.
No, wait.
No. We gotta go back to
Legislative
where you
policy
talking.
enforcer argues on the contract. You signed it. You agreed. That's what I'm saying. It's legislative policy
What does
enforcers.
contract law say? Because now you're national, right? Now you're national.
No.
Wait a minute.
I'm corrected. No, we're going to stick to the program. It's legislative policy enforcers. Legislative policy enforcers. They're not policy enforcers. I can write policy and enforce my own policy. I'm talking about legislative policy
All right, so
enforcers.
make the distinction. What
I
does that
did.
mean? No, you didn't.
Yes.
Through Congress, you said. It's done through Congress.
Yeah, they create the bill. They write it up and all that crap that's
Who
done.
creates the bill?
The elected. No. Actually, we're supposed to create the bills, and then we get them to pass it. But it hasn't been going on.
Right.
The businessmen in the fictional community have been doing.
What they're doing is they're playing the role of the republic, even though we know it's not the republic. We have Congress, which is corporate, it's de facto. But they're saying we can, and we have the authority to lay and collect a tax, which is the Excise Tax Act, which is what DMV is up under. The Excise Tax. The Excise Tax Act.
Cross.
Hold on, let me see.
It's in your storage, your internet storage.
They be trying to play games.
You with me, Tiger?
Yeah.
You with me, right? So like you have Congress pass legislation to delegate these inferior courts to adjudicate over 14th Amendment class non-citizens that they say are citizens, but this fake Congress, they're enforcing the Excise Tax Act, which is fraud. It's fraud.
Okay, but we gotta go back to what I originally was saying. Everybody keeps calling them policy enforcers. They're not policy enforcers. They're legislative policy enforcers. We can write policy and we can enforce them.
Right.
You create an organization and you start making your bylaws and you start making policy. This is how you're going to operate.
Right.
You're writing policy.
That's what we do.
You create a conference.
How are they
and you put
legislative policy enforcers?
because they're operating on enforcing the contract that's agreed to per the law that they call law. Unconstitutional official acts is what they are, which is jurisprudence. And they actually call that the law. It's chapter 16, page 177.
How is it a law?
because it's not. It's unconstitutional official acts.
Yeah, but how is it legislative? How are you using
It's
legislative?
legislative policy. That's what they call it.
Legislative. How are you using legislative?
Legislation really.
What does legislative mean?
Thank you. Can y'all look up the definition of legislative?
They're not legislative. Creates policy to enforce law. Legislation.
Don't guess. Read it. Legislative.
Look it up.
Because we got 3 branches of the Constitution for the United States. We got 3 branches. What are those branches?
Judicial, legislative, and executive. Which
And
is
what part is the legislative?
Actually, it's God. Government Ordinance Department.
Right.
What is legislative? Come on,
It-
definition,
it- it
baby.
Make the law.
Definition. I don't want to guess.
I can't find
We're
it.
gonna look it up. And executive is administrative.
Executive enforces what the legislative.
It's not in
You say
here.
executive,
LEG.
executive slash administrative.
Legislation.
It's not in here.
Legislative.
I thought it was in
We got it. Fourth edition.
Who got
Black's Law.
it? Read it very, very loud.
Actions which relate to subjects of permanent or general character are legislative, making or having the power to make a law or laws. State, extra,
Read that again.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
actions which relate to subjects of permanent or general character are legislative. Making or having the power to make a law or
Making or having the power to make law. Making and having the power to make law. Making and having the power to make law. Constitutionally. Who got that?
Creative. Yeah.
Constitutionally, who has it?
We do.
Where does it say it in the Constitution? Read it. Anybody got that? She got it.
Congress having it.
You got. Is the first one, first article.
legislative powers.
No, you come up here and read that out to them. The whole freaking one.
All of one?
Well,
Just section 1.
yeah.
Section 1.
State your appellation for the record. Public notice.
I am Bree L. This is the Constitution of the United States of America.
This is the Constitution. What? For
the United States of America, North Continent, Article 1, Section 1. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall constitute consist of a Senate and House of Representatives.
Islam. You were saying, Tiger?
I wasn't saying anything.
I ain't think so.
That's why.
When y'all keep it simple,
Specific.
and you don't go down the rabbit hole
Right.
of federal rules and procedures and
Right.
because they got that whole thingy right there full of procedures to keep you off of what?
You're square.
Law. What happened now?
It says Facebook keeps stopping after those apps are sending feedback.
Look, everybody had a doomsday right now because we be having like 50 people. A doomsday. See, you know what? They let her have fun. Till they get violated, then they're on your phone. Sharon! I'm dealing with something right now. Call me. No. Not gonna do it. Islam. So if we stay on the supreme laws of the land and we hold everything to that, we won't talk about legislative nothing. Because to be legislative, you gotta be what? What did you read? You gotta have the ability to make and enforce law. To make law.
Right.
Legislative means to be able to make law. And that's vested in what? In who?
But even though it's de
Either
facto,
Nope.
it's still happening.
Nope. It's vested in who?
You.
Legislative.
Congress.
Legislative. Congress of the United States.
Right.
It ain't say the United States of America.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at Article 6 under the authority of the United States. They didn't say United States of America. You're right. They never said that.
They're talking about two distinct bodies, right?
Major.
Because it's a contract to do business at Morocco.
Right.
There's several documents that supersede that document before they even got the ability to have that commerce,
Right.
which is the contract. They had to claim their independence from Great Britain first. Because why do you have to claim your independence from somebody else? Why do you have to do that? Why do we have to declare and proclaim our independence from the service corporation? Why do we gotta do that? Huh?
It was a contract made, but we didn't make that contract, so we have to replace or redo.
How can you declare your independence for somebody else and want to be a part of and be adopted somewhere else if you're already owned allegiance elsewhere? That's the same reason why so-called attorneys can't sit in offices of nobility. Titles, rather.
Right.
They can't because they already claimed allegiance through that bar of association, BAR, to the Queen.
Right.
So they can't sit in judgment. It's a breach. It would be a breach to even accept them. Which is why they can't.
And also, they're the colonies are corporations, so they hustled to create a country so they can do business.
They ain't creating no country.
No, but that, according to the diplomatic correspondence concerning John Adams, they were trying to get treaty. He was trying to go out and get treaty and couldn't do it because he was convinced he was being what's the word when you he was being consulted by the emperor. Hey, look, you gotta create a country. So they go back and create.
You gotta create a standing. You owned by somebody. You're owned as cargo by someone.
Well, they're corporations to begin with.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
And the only reason they were here was to establish those contracts. Is to fulfill those charters from the Queen and from the Vatican. Well, it was the Queen originally. King George. King George chartered those colonies, those plantations, those British companies to do business here. And they were the damn indentured servants, was a cute way of saying enslaved individuals sent here to do the work.
Right.
And they wanted independence from Great Britain and a standing outside of them, which is why they had to declare their independence to us under